it's important that all of the intelligence agencies have someone that the press can go to that they trust. In other words, if you call up the public affairs director at the CIA or the National Security Agency, you need to have the assurance that that person is going to be straight with you when they say, I can't tell you, or I don't know, or I can tell you this, but I can't tell you that. So we don't use the press, but we're mindful of the role of the press and the influence of the press, and if we're smart about it, we'll be honest with the press about things that we can discuss and honest when we can't discuss them. And I think if we establish that trust, then this dialogue, these decisions that people like Bill and Len have to make, become somewhat easier, or at least they have the data they need to make the decision.
Can I take a bit of an issue? I'm not sure, John, that you disagree with me on this. I think John is right if you define the intelligence community of which he spoke as the professionals long-term in the intelligence community.
Right.
But I've seen stories attributed to high intelligence officials that are clearly authorized trial balloon leaks, but I don't think they come from the professional intelligence community. They come from the NSC, they come from the Vice President, they come from the Secretary of State, or they come from others who are in the larger intelligence community but are not intelligence professionals. If you go back, for example, to the AAL 007 situation, the decision to release that information was made at the White House by senior officials, not the President personally, but by senior officials, over the objection of the director of the NSA, Admiral Inman at the time. And the intelligence community didn't use the press for policy purposes. But Lord, all of you know, the government endemically uses the press for policy purposes, and often, in my experience, uses the press to release things in the national security that are not always truthful. Disinformation is not a policy that was born in the Nixon administration. It's not a policy that died at the end of Watergate. It may have gone through its ebbs and flows as an affirmative governmental policy, but I think the honest answer to the question is that the government uses the press to release classified material, and occasionally professionals in the intelligence community release classified information, a la the NSA eavesdropping wiretapping program that became released at a lower level as an unauthorized release. But at the senior levels of the intelligence community, I agree with what John said, that they are not going to the press for purposes except when so directed by higher authority within the government.
That's an important distinction, and I may have answered your question too narrowly. If you think about it in terms, if I were to rephrase the question, is intelligence used to influence the press, as opposed to does the intelligence community influence? The answer is probably yes, and not so much by the intelligence community. It is frequently thought that leaks of intelligence flow from the intelligence community fulsomely. I wouldn't deny that some people in intelligence leak things, but for the most part, my impression is that intelligence, regrettably, is used as a political weapon once it's out there. One of the problems we have in the intelligence business is the simple dissemination list. How many people do you give something to that is classified when you publish it? Do you give it to 5 people, 10 people, 200 people, 500 people? The larger the distribution list, the likelier it is that it will fall into the hands of someone who will want to use that to make some point. And that happens.
Dave, a question? It's probably worth noting that the use of intelligence to spin the press is a risky proposition. I think you would find
strongly oppose it.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, it can backfire on you, and I think it has with the current administration. I think some of the sources the press has had in the current administration are intelligence professionals who are extremely unhappy about the way good intelligence or questionable intelligence was cherry-picked before the war in Iraq to build a case, to build a political case. And I think some of those intelligence agencies find that their only recourse is to talk to reporters.